So this war in the Middle East, this goes back to the Edomites, Esau and Jacob. It is. It's really obvious. It is. It's in the Bible. It's two brothers that have always been at war with each other. One of those brothers, being the older one, well, he sold his birthright to Jacob. Yep. And so he just disregarded it. Esau did. He was hungry. He wanted some of Jacob's stew. They were twin brothers. They were twin brothers, Jacob and Esau. And so Esau was really hungry after working in the fields one day. He's the older one. And he says, I want some of that stew. And Jacob says, I'll give you some if you give me your birthright. So that was a big deal because being the firstborn was, anybody who's read that in the Bible, it's a really big deal. It comes with you get the inheritance, you get the leadership, you have all this responsibility. It's a great honor. Esau didn't have any respect for his birthright. He just sold it for food. And that's evident, but this is the way God wanted it to play out. Because God had said in I think it's Genesis, that he would raise up Jacob. And Jacob technically wasn't the firstborn, Esau was. So Esau went on to be, it was the group of people of Edomites, okay? And God also wasn't happy because he married outside of his faith. But this is what this fight is over there, okay? It's the Edomites against Israel. It's ridiculous. It's like, because all these people, like, you could all be forgiven if you just look to Jesus, but I think your ego's too big. And you don't want to set your own ego aside. So everybody suffers because of Islam and Muslim. The term Muslim has not been around, came around only in the 7th century. You may think it's been around forever. Nope. Arabs have. But the Jews would have been considered Arabs too, which is why people love to say that those European Jews aren't the real Jews. That makes no sense, and here's why. Because God scattered the Jews all throughout the world. If you read the Bible, Candace Owens, then you should know that. But I don't think Candace Owens serves the side of Jesus Christ. She serves the side of the Muslim Brotherhood. Yes, that was created in the 7th century. And this whole deal about Muhammad going into a cave, that was all the 7th century. And then they come out and they recognize Moses, they recognize Isaac, they recognize Jacob. Well, of course they would. It's the same old story. You see what I'm saying? But it's still at war. And what God was furious with the Edomites for always is because of their cruelty and their constant war at Israel, which is Jacob. And so, and at first God was like, look, you guys are, it's ancestors. Your people are ancestors. So try to get along because of your ancestry. But it didn't. And then finally God was like, I'm going to destroy the Edomites. People say they're not around today. Well, even if they aren't, and there's no proof they are or not, but that energy still carries on, and it created Islam in the 7th century in Saudi Arabia. And that has gone on to be what has attacked Israel, okay? But it's ridiculous to try to claim that, no, the Jews, the real descendants, would have been this color or that color or this color skin, because God scattered them all throughout the world. That was part of his judgment against them in the Old Testament. So you can't claim this, like Candace making her nasty racist comment against Netanyahu, saying that Polish Jew. Yeah, well, you can't say that they're not I don't care what skin color they are. If you know anything about the Bible, you know God scattered them all throughout the world. So they would have intermingled and married, and so, but this is why I just get removed, because it's not like they'll put people like her up there, the hateful, let's hate the Jews woman. So the other thing is that when Jesus was born, King Herod was king. Even when Jesus became an adult, it was another King Herod, but they were all from the same dynasty, and the dynasty they were from was half Edomite. And so it was questioned about, because the first king, and he was so cruel, he killed all the firstborn males trying to kill Jesus. It was called the Massacre of the Innocent, because he heard about Jesus and didn't want Jesus to overtake his throne. It's, not stopping to think like this is God incarnate, It's, no, we just can't let God take our throne. Like, it's just, the mindset is sick when people get too powerful. Anyway, so he killed all the firstborn trying to, see if he could kill Jesus. It didn't happen. And then when Jesus was an adult, it was a different king. And that king went on to not only behead John the Baptist, but he mocked Jesus and did not have good interactions. And Jesus had no respect for him. And Jesus called him a fox, which was an insult back then, because a fox was considered a dirty animal. So that's what Jesus thought of them. I think he knew it was just a waste of time there. Because, again, that's the same war, okay? So that whole dynasty is what was put in by, the Roman Empire as kings. But they weren't, and even though they supposedly were Jewish, people questioned whether they were really Jewish. Same old thing that continues on, the plants, the infiltrators, yeah. So anyway, but this whole Muslim and Islam thing, look, you came way after Christianity. You created yourself this term in the 7th century. Then you went all through the Middle East, including Jerusalem, and killed and forced your new religion that was well after Christianity, that was well after the Israelites, came in and said, nope, we know best. And since they do recognize the Old Testament, it's like it's Esau, it's the Edomites. It's the same thing, same energy that just is carrying on. It's ridiculous. That's why it's a war that just is never ending. But they went in through the Middle East and killed the Christians and the Jews. Yeah, in the 7th century. That was after Jesus, after the Israelites. So you coming in saying we know what the Bible says. You don't. You created your own Quran, and yet you say you recognize Abraham, Isaac. Of course they would. That's why I'm saying it's the Edomites. And it was it was Isaac that was the father of Esau and Jacob, right? Isaac. I get Isaac and Abraham mixed up. Yeah, Isaac. Isaac was the father of these two twins. And again, Esau and Jacob were twins. And then Jacob was the younger one. So the birthright was with the older one, Esau, but he, as I said, sold it. But during the pregnancy with Esau and Jacob, Isaac had went to the Lord because his wife was having some pregnancy pains. And so this was what the Lord had to say. There are two nations are in your womb, and two people from within you shall be divided. The one shall be stronger than the other. The older shall serve the younger. And since the older gave away his birthright, and look at the difference in conditions they live in, so what do? They create constant war at Israel. It's ridiculous for it to still be going on. It really is. But, this is the problem. Everybody, it's so easy to say, oh, I'm anti-war. I just want all the world to come together in peace. Yeah, there's some of these people, this is a biblical ordeal. Islam, this crazy part of Islam, does not care. Because they see it as I'm going to get my birthright back. Well, God already picked Jacob. So the best thing you can do, in my opinion, if I was a Muslim, is say, you know what, I'm going to start looking to Jesus. I'm going to ask for forgiveness. I've been led astray. And if the leaders of the Muslim countries wanted to do that, then just think what kind of peace there could be. All in just getting right with Jesus. But somehow I think your egos are too big and you're just determined to keep this Non-stop war going forever. Okay.